Well, hey, I hope everyone had a great new year. Today's going to be a fun one. You've probably seen me start to talk a little bit about this, which is this idea of outbound performance management. I'm actually speaking at an event in Vegas next week about it. So I want to hear your guys' feedback on it. As usual, drop your comments or questions in the chat. I'm always looking at the chat. So if you see me looking over at my screen, that's what I'm usually looking at. And, you know, we're going to be going hard at these. This is a part of our Modern Leader series. If you don't follow the podcast, it's the Jake Dunlap Show. Make sure to go check out the podcast where I interview CEOs as well, too. We talk about their challenges. We talk about their stories. And so we're going to be doing quite a bit coming up around this whole Modern Leader series in 2023. Also, if any of you are based in New York and you are listening to this, I'm going to be in New York on the 19th and 20th, and we're going to be doing a leadership dinner on the evening of the 19th. I'm also speaking at an event on the 20th that I will, let me see if I can get you all details on this really quick. Let me see if my team put the notes in here. Oh man, they're all, you know what? These guys are just all over it. So here's the event in New York. If you all want to register, here it is. If you are in New York, come check it out. We're also doing one in Austin the next week. So if you're in Austin, check us out there. Here you go for my folks over on Zoom. But that should be fun. I haven't been back to New York in a few months. It's going to be interesting to go back to New York in dry January. I'm going to Vegas, speaking in Vegas next week, in New York the week after in dry January. So that's okay. I'm sure I'll still have plenty of fun seeing old friends. So, all right, everyone, let's jump into it. So I want to talk about outbound performance management. Okay. And really, I did a post this morning. Maybe some of you saw it, talking about activity metrics. And, you know, I did a few different polls last year where, given the month, it was anywhere, it's usually the lowest it ever got, I think, was 71%. It was 71% of people said that their team was missing their outbound number. 71%. And my best guess is that it's 71% now. And what's it going to look like in 2023? I think 2023 is going to be a very difficult year for outbound the way that we've known it. I've got a post going out tomorrow that I think some people, and I'll give a little tease to it today. You all can tell me your insights on it. Maybe you're like, Jake, I think that's garbage. But 2023 is going to be a tough one. I think 2023, just in sales in general, is not going to be the easiest year we've had in a long time. And I think a lot of sellers, if you're out there listening, and let's say you started selling back in 2018, maybe 2017, 2015, I don't think you've seen a year like this. And candidly, even when I look back to 2007, 8, 9, and what those years look like, they were tough. But maybe I was just young and dumb, didn't know enough about the economy to where they didn't really affect my teams as much. Or I was good at advocating for quota adjustments, which is a skill in its own as a leader. But I can just tell you, this is not going to be the easiest year. And so we're going to have to get creative. We're going to have to think about, you know, some of the issues that we should have dealt with years ago in outbound that we need to deal with sooner than later. All right. So the first thing I'm going to talk a little bit about is performance today and why this is a problem. Okay. I'm going to copy and paste a couple things in the comments. Like I said, feel free, guys, start dropping the questions in here. You know, if you're like, Jake, here's what we're doing for outbound, drop your question in there. All right. So let's talk a little bit about some of these details here. All right. Which is around the idea of performance. Okay. And that's what I want to talk about first here, is just maybe like defining this idea of performance and why this is a problem. The amount of money that teams are spending on outbound continues to rise, right? We continue to want to throw, you know, Aaron Ross created this concept a while ago in predictable revenue. He called it seeds, nets, and spears. So seeds are things like, you know, organic LinkedIn traffic, PR, nets is marketing, and spears is outbound. And why we like spears is it feels good. We're doing something. We're not like waiting for something to come into the net. We're not planting a seed and watching it grow. So Outbound has been a very, very big part of this. And so what we've seen is organizations, because it feels more actionable and trackable, have looked at these ability to do more and throw more spears as a leading indicator of success. And candidly, like if you read my post this morning, if not, go and check out my post from this morning a few hours. It used to work. Like it used to be, look, you could say the number of spears I throw is the top of the funnel metrics for me to then see what converts. Because every email I sent, every call that I made had a call to action. I was trying to generate a meeting from every single activity that I did. Well, about 2018, 2019, this thing called LinkedIn came about. Okay. And we just haven't really adapted to think about, well, if I'm asking my team to like or comment, it's interesting. In this post, some people commented like, you can track that. I'm like, dude, the only way you can track this activity is like by someone manually entering it. Like, oh, I'm going to go to Salesforce and manually say I connected with these 4 people. I'm going to manually say I like these people's or commented. No way, man. No sales rep's going to do that. So that's why I say you can't track it as a part of that. So I want us to think about, look, the problem is that we used to track outbound activities, and every single thing that or activity that we asked a rep to do. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out my microphone here. It keeps spiking. Every single thing that we asked our rep to do was related to doing that. So tracking activities made sense because they were only doing activities at the top of the funnel that then had a direct correlation. Now we're doing those activities, but we're also doing all these other activities that we can't track. And so to me, this is a big part of the issue, is that if we want to come up with a performance mindset, we have to be okay that there may be some parts of this we can't track. And I think that's a really difficult concept to deal with as a part of this. So just at a high level, just kind of recapping the post from this morning. If you have any questions, you want to challenge me on it, I'm happy to have that conversation. If you're like, Jake, I don't agree. I think you should track activity metrics. I'm all for it. Like I said in my post this morning, I'm all for tracking activity metrics if people aren't hitting their numbers. If they're hitting their numbers, let them do whatever the hell they want to do to get there. Let your sales team be creative, right? Let them go out and find cool new ways to break things and, make it happen as opposed to not. This is really weird. I don't know why it's spiking like this. Keep messing with it. Oh, that's why. I'm an idiot. I kept adjusting the wrong output. There we go. Okay, now we're good. Okay, so that's number one. So go read the post. These are just some more of my thoughts around like what needs to change in 2023. Okay, I want to talk next about this concept of performance management for outbound. Okay, I want you to think about this idea. And this isn't people performance management. I'm not talking about, how do I get my reps to learn a new skill? I'm not talking about that. I mean, there is a little bit of that, maybe you could say, that's involved in this, but that's not what the point of this is. I want to do a quick analogy for you. Okay, if marketing spends, okay, it's very, very straightforward. If marketing spends, let's say $100,000 a month on Google AdWords, marketing is typically used, and LinkedIn ads, whatever, they're going to spend at least 10 to 20% of that budget to optimize its performance. Well, of course, we're going to do that. We're going to have an agency. We're going to have somebody whose sole job is to optimize the performance, the ad copy, the ad format, the targeting, the audiences, the campaign segments, the graphics, the design. We have one person or an agency who's solely dedicated to optimizing the performance. What is the goal of a Google AdWord or a LinkedIn ad? To generate a qualified opportunity, right? That's what it's trying to do, right? So I'm just going to spend $100,000 on my costs, and then I'm going to spend another $120,000. I'm going to spend a total of $120,000 because I know I'm going to need to spend $15,000 or $20,000 a month to optimize the performance of the $100,000. Okay, now instead, I'll just do some quick math here. I should have had this on the ready, right? But let's just say we're spending $100,000 a month on SDRs. Average SDRs making what? Eight grand a month, something like that. We're just going to say that, 8 grand, all in, loaded. That's 12 SDRs, okay? Today, we spend the SDR manager, okay, is who we always go to. She or he is managing the team. They're like, listening to calls, coaching them. They're not looking at the data, looking at the analytics, looking at the sequence by sequence performance. Your sales ops people, they haven't been in, mostly they haven't been in sales. So they also don't know how to look at copy and be like, hey, why is this email great? Why does this one suck? So what you're doing instead is if we're spending $100,000 a month on SDRs, we're spending $4,000 or $5,000 a month on optimizing the performance of that team and that system. Marketing spends $15,000 to $20,000 a month to optimize Google AdWords. Sales spends $4,000 to $5,000 a month. So 1/3 of the cost to optimize outbound performance. Because if I want you to think about this, what do you need to optimize? You need a data and insights person. Insights person. First hire. Someone, okay, who can look at the data real quickly. Hey, that sequence is popping. That one's not working. Let's double down. Hey, I see step 3 in this sequence is getting a much higher reply rate. How do we move that up? Right? Most teams do not have somebody doing this or a part of a part-time. Most teams treat optimizing outbound sequences like a campaign, something that we're going to do every 6 months. If we are pumping hundreds of thousands of data points through a system, why aren't we optimizing it every week? If I'm sending out and my team is doing hundreds of thousands of activities, you should be optimizing that every week, not every 6 months, and not just writing a bunch of sequences and thinking that we're done, right? So again, you need a data and insights person. The next thing you probably need a copywriter. Copy person. Hire 2, right? You need someone, because again, the data and insights person is look, here's what I'm seeing from the data. This week, this sequence has been performing and here's how it's been trending over the last 4 weeks. This step and these other 3 sequences is performing, right? We need to, and then these ones are underperforming, but feel like they could be winners. Great. That's where the copywriter comes in. Okay. And then lastly, you need a strategy lead. Hire 3. So you have to have all 3 of these people to run the system, because then what you need is someone who says, okay, I'm looking at this sequence. Why is this one popping? Why is this one doing so well? Ooh, I see it. It's because this one's working so well because this sequence is crushing it here. Sorry, I'm trying to pull back up my LinkedIn Live. Oh, so annoying. There we go. This sequence is doing really well here. It's got 6 steps, 8 steps. Why is this sequence? Oh, it's these 2 pieces of content. What if I took this piece of content that's performing well in this sequence and this piece of content and splice those together to create this sequence? I'm telling you, I can count on one hand out of hundreds of teams that I talk to every year that are thinking about outbound in a performance management and marketing way. And I'm telling you guys, we have the data. We have the insights. I'll give you a good example. Orem, who's a call dialing, auto dialer, human assisted dialing. They've done the data. It says the best time to call is between 3 to 5. So guess what? They only call between 3 to 5. Right? That's because they've got so much data they're pumping through the system that they're optimizing the performance of the team and the system. Right? So I want you to think about this. You cannot find one person who can do this job. The same way as whenever you hire a performance advertising company, you get a copywriter, you get a data person, and you get an account strategist. My friends, outbound is absolutely no different. And I'm telling you this right now. If your team does not invest and think about outbound as a performance management, ongoing optimization activity, it will not be successful in 2023. Right. And I don't want to be all doom and gloom coming out, into the new year, but I'm just telling you that we have the data, that just hitting more activities, again, what I talked about at the beginning, is not working. I challenge, feel free, hey, if you're in here, you're listening, man, this guy's full of, what, right? Please call me out. Jake, you're full of it. call me out, let me know. But from what I have seen consistently is that we're asking teams to do all this non-completely trackable stuff. But guess what? I can track those activities in a sequence. So step 4 is comment on post, and then I can see that there was a conversion after that. Great. Cool. I can see that. The comment's not going to auto log to the thing. The comment won't auto log if I do it in Sales Navigate or LinkedIn or something like that. The like won't. But it will if I have it in a sequence to some extent. But then I've got to look in again. That's why I need the data person. I need the data person to go and say, hey, it seems like we're typically converting when we have a comment on a post in the sequence. What do we want to do about that? We don't know exactly where that impacted, but the sequences that are highest performing had a comment in the post or a connect in the post. So again, that's why we have to have some type of sequencing tool like an Outreach, or another tool. Rod Salone, great question. Rob says, how many outbound teams have their own copywriter? It's a really great question. I will tell you this. There are many outsourced lead generation firms that do it this way. There's one in particular I know out of Columbia called Science, and they've got a copywriter, a cold caller, and I think a LinkedIn person all tied to just one account. So they've got 3 people that kind of take the place of one FTE. So how many full-time teams? Rod, I don't think a lot do. Rod, I think a lot of people, when they hear the word content, they think marketing, or the SDR leaders I can do it. I can do the content. I know what's working, but they're not actually having the data analyst skills to go do the data analytics to look at hey, is this really popping? Is this really working? So Rod, I would say very few. I see dedicated copywriters a lot more in companies that have outbound motions that do outsource outbound versus companies that are hiring it in-house. Why wouldn't you hire an in-house copywriter? These are some of the things that I think about. Or again, and this is not a big pitch because we've been preaching this for a long time. That's why we signed at the end of this year some massive companies. I'm talking about companies that have thousands of reps to do this for them. And we've got companies that have 10 reps that we're doing this for as well too, in a much more limited capacity because they don't have as much data. And it's because more and more companies are realizing look, if outbound is going to work, this current way that we're doing it by dedicating $5,000 a month versus $15,000, not having people that are specialized in any of these things is not working. And so we have to do something different. Yeah, exactly. Sharon has a great comment. She said, from my experience, most companies don't have these tracking peeps in place. Yep. They hand it to the SDR manager, share best practices. Are speaking to the data that Outreach, Gong, or Salesloft? Yeah. So I'll share some of this ideas here of what other people are doing. And that's exactly right, Sharon. That's the problem is that, we're not training our sales leaders in stats and how to pull data in and how to do VLOOKUPs and pivot tables and things like that, which would be really great if we did, because I feel again, data and understanding how to pull your own data is just one of the most valuable skills you can have. So I think that there's a couple of things when you're looking at these tools, right? So let's talk about Outreach, for example, or Salesloft. You could put them in the same kind of bucket. The types of data points that we're looking at whenever we're working with customers is we're looking at overall positive reply sequence performance, right? So in Outreach, we can see at a sequence, we can see the sequences that have the highest number of positive replies. So Outreach allows us to tell us, sentiment that today it's manual. They are releasing a data product very soon that, hopefully, not hopefully, we're going to be in the beta on to where we can pull in some of this data, not that data, other data, and start to manipulate it. So right now, the problem, Sharon, is it's manual. There is no way to pull in all of the data points you want, highest performing sequences, touch point that is the number one converting piece of content. It's manual. And unfortunately, it's the same with Outreach, same with Salesloft. Gong is doing some interesting things around deal intelligence. where they're helping you with kind of understand like where you're at in the sales process, but it's not really helping you to optimize outbound necessarily. So that's the problem, Sharon, is that a lot of this is data analytics. Yeah, I totally, I get it. Like Sharon says, it's a problem. You know, I'd like to say I know everything. I don't. I want that coaching or, data and analytics to improve. I do this for my team, and it's a huge undertaking for one person, and I only have 7 SDRs. So Shariah just chimed in. She said, I do this, and it's a massive. That's exactly right, Shariah. And I think that it's unrealistic. It's like, again, like I just go over to marketing, because marketing has it figured out. If you think about it, marketing's like, look, we're not going to be experts in web design. We're going to hire a web design agency. We're not going to be experts in PR. We're going to hire a PR agency. We're not experts in rebranding our company. We're going to hire a PR agency. We're not experts in performance advertising. We're going to hire a performance advertising company. Sales instead says they got to be full-time. And ops, it touches technology. That's ops. It's content. The managers can do that. And so I think for a lot of people, Shariah, I'm not, surprised here that you're overwhelmed by it, because again, I think it's not realistic. It's not realistic. You're going to find one person who's able to look at the strategy, have a perfect copywriter, or be able to do the copy themselves, be able to pull the analytics into one place. It's not realistic. But I guess the question for, leaders is like, what's the alternative? The alternative is we keep doing what we did in 2022 that wasn't working. And again, that's not, a lot of you frontline leaders are like, man, look, preach, Jake. I want to be able to pull more of this in. So I'll give you guys, what I'll try to do then is maybe make it a little more tactical for some of my frontline leaders. So Sharon, Shariah, this is specifically for you. I'll try to make it more tactical. And maybe Shariah, you're already doing this as a part of this. One of the most important things first is mindset. That understand that outbound is an ongoing optimization process. It is never a campaign. It is never we do this big sprint to rebrand or whatever over 6 months and then we're done. That's not how it works. If you're pumping, like I said before, hundreds of thousands, millions of data points through a system in a month or 2 months or quarter, you need to be always optimizing. So I think, look, if I'm a frontline leader, I'm spending probably 3 hours a week just doing this myself. I'm going to create my spreadsheet. And you know what? DM me. We might have like a basic template. So Shariah, Sharon, DM me. Let me see what my team has already. And I'll feel free to share that with you as well too. So just shoot me a DM. I'll send you what we have as a part of it. But the first thing I said is make sure you set out time. Part of your job, if you're an SDR leader today, is to figure part of this out. I'll send you a spreadsheet that I think will help you to suck in some of this data. I'll take a look at what Neil built. I'm not 100% sure exactly what it will do, but I'll try to find something for you. But dedicate that time every week. And I think if you do that, you will not get caught flat-footed. The other thing that I would suggest is in these meetings, don't just look at what's performing now. Think about where the economy is headed. Think about where your industry is headed and start to put in place contingency sequences. Meaning like, okay, so what would happen if all of a sudden finance dried up? Let me put together a few value props or do some research, enlist some of my top SDRs to pull in some insights into if the economy goes bad, what should I do about XYZ? So I think having 3 hours let's call it 3 hours for a small team, a team of 7, right? Which isn't, small, 2 to 3 hours a week where it's like I put my head down, I look at the data from the week before, I think about future trends and anything I need to prepare for. And then I dedicate time and then maybe I come up also with a content committee that I've got 1 or 2 of my top SDRs where they also are dedicating a couple hours a week to new emails. Hey, I saw that this is really working, this video message we're sending. Let's just turn that into a quick script. Cool. And let's get that out to the team. I'm going to then go update the sequence at step 6 or whatever that looks like. So I would maybe think about that it's like, I need to have time dedicated to review the data, past performance, what's going forward, time dedicated to review industry trends, and then time dedicated to write content. Now, as an SDR leader, here's the other thing I'll say. You don't have to be the person who does it all. This is where I would get really good at just being the orchestrator. I'd say, great, I'm forming a little bit of a content committee here. And so my SDRs are my top performing ones. They get a chance to be a part of this. And so, yes, am I going to take them away from the phones or the emails or the LinkedIn for 2 hours a week? Sure. But do I feel like I'm going to get more than what is that? How much of that is their time? 2 hours would be, I don't know, 5% of their time. Do I feel like I'm going to get an increase in more than 5% of productivity if we're constantly optimizing? Yeah, absolutely. So again, performance, what's working, what's not, industry trends I need to be on the lookout for, and then rewriting of content. And that could be not just email content. It could be video. It could be reviewing LinkedIn messages, like auditing my team. Hey, what are they commenting on people's posts? Let me take a quick peek. All of those types of things. So the job of an SDR leader, I think, is also evolving. That if your team isn't hiring an agency to help you, which they should be, or hiring these people internally, whatever you want to do, then it's your job. As an SDR leader, you have to turn into your own little performance marketing person and looking at those things, setting up the data in the right way, setting up a way to stay on top of things, and setting up a way to, make the changes to the copy and not letting other things pull you in. And Shariah, look, you're already doing it. So you know how time consuming it is. So again, I want you all to just kind of leave with that every organization to be successful is going to need to have some type of performance management activity. Okay. You're going to need to have some type of way that you are managing and optimizing performance in real time, not just in every 6 months. If you are only optimizing your outbound every 6 months, you are losing out. Think about that. A team that optimizes outbound every 3 months versus a team that's optimizing every week. Just think about where's that performance going to be in 6 months and 12 months. It's silly, right? And we can't keep managing SDRs or sellers who are doing outbound to more. Just do more activities because it's not working either. More activities is not working, right? And so we've got to do something different. So I hope this helps to spark some interesting insights for all of you. Happy 2023 performance management for outbound. How are you setting up that engine internally? How are you setting that up to where it is a part of the job going forward? It's not just cold call coaching. It's, we got to be able to put on our data and analytics hat a little bit as well too, which may or may not be foreign to some people. So I hope this helps. I hope that all of you can leave here with some insight, some food for thought. Send this to your VP of sales or CRO, right? If you need to, be like, look, this is what other people are doing. Like this, if you want to know why we're not hitting outbound, that's what I would do. If I'm an SDR leader, I'm like, oh, you want to know why we're not hitting outbound? Go literally listen to Jake on 1.5 speed for 20 minutes. And that is why we're not hitting our outbound target. All right. But again, DM me. Okay. DM me, Natalie, Rod, Sharon. I know we have some type of email template for how we take in this data from outreach in particular. So just DM me. I'll at least send you all out what we do have. And hopefully it's helpful. So have a great rest of your week, everybody. If you're going to be at the Sendoso conference in Vegas next week, I'll see you there. If you're going to be in New York in 2 weeks on the 20th, please join me. I'll drop that link again too if you're going to be in New York. Let me find it real quick. Oh, we got a question. I'll try to take that one too. Give me 1 sec. I love questions. Just so you guys know, I love the questions. It's so much more fun for me to interact. Okay, this is if you're going to be in New York, join me at the Sales Hacker. Craig Henderson with the last question of the day. All right. How much input do you recommend that the AEs provide in this process? Do you think that this should be Craig, 100% collaborative? Again, keep in mind the sequences that are running are executed by people. And so when I'm doing my analytics, I'm saying, oh, Craig, hey, Craig, dude, your sequences are always outperforming. I've got these other two. Can you help me with that one? So absolutely enlist the people that are already, hey, Jill, your videos are crushing. Can you help me write a script for the rest of the team? Boom. So Craig, it should be very, very, very collaborative. Think of what my job is as the SDR leader or the person internally. I'm the quarterback. I'm the orchestrator. I'm looking at the data. I'm doing that. I may be helping with some of the rewriting, but I'm also enlisting some of my team. So Yes, great question. No, this should not be 100% centralized. It will never work as well as it could. So, all right, everyone, have a great rest of your week. We will see you next Monday. We're back to our Monday time slot. Like I said, if you're in New York, make sure to join me in a couple weeks. Also, make sure you sign up for the Modern Leader newsletter. I think we've got like 15,000 people subscribe to that. And we will see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.